What's up, guys? 1-1 yesterday for a slight loss. Obviously, not exactly what I wanted. Cleveland Indians were basically a dead play. They were down 5-0 into the eighth inning, I think, losing the whole game. Gavin Williams did not pitch well. Savali pitched a lot better than I thought he would. I think he didn't even give up any runs. Yeah, because it was, like I said, it was 5-0 into the eighth inning. And then Cleveland decided, we're going to tease you a little bit and score 3 runs in the top of the eighth and make it seem like we might actually be able to pull this off. If you're not going to do it, man, don't tease me. Come on, just get it over with. Just lose. We know it's a losing bet. And then I did win on the total, the under in the Texas Rangers, Minnesota Twins game. All right, we move on to today. We have baseball. I only have one play today in baseball. This baseball card is throwing me off, to be honest. I don't really see that much going on. I sort of looked a little bit towards maybe an over in Washington, Philly, because you have a situation where both pitchers, Mackenzie Gore and Christopher Sanchez, are both pretty familiar to the opposing offenses, obviously, because they're in the same division. They have each faced these offenses this year, but not for a while, but the offenses are familiar with them, so that's a bit of a disadvantage to the pitcher, really, and both of these pitchers don't have good stats against the opposing lineups, so I was potentially looking to play over. That would be an over 9 in that one, but it looks like it is public. I mean, the public's going to come in and play overs in Philadelphia games, especially when they don't think the pitchers are particularly good. 77% of the tickets on the over, 73% of the cash on the over. Can't quite get it done with that one. There is a weird situation. Well, I should say I can't quite get it done because it does look like it's public with less of the cash on it too. So that's something that kind of keeps me away from it as well. Reading the market on that one, I don't like it. There's a weird situation, as I was going to say, with Oakland against San Francisco. Even though this is a Saturday baseball slate, basically every baseball team plays on Friday, but those two teams did not play yesterday, which it's strange. Like I mentioned with some of these teams that I've seen been like off on Sunday, it doesn't make any sense. It seems like teams just have random like days off that normally wouldn't be days off in baseball. I don't know, because I see teams not playing on Sunday. Now we have a situation where these two teams didn't play on Friday. And to me, situationally, this seems like an edge for San Francisco because Oakland is returning from the East Coast. So they're returning from a 2-series road trip. So as I always say, when you return home from a road trip like that, it is a distracted spot. You have to deal with getting back to home life. You have stuff to do at home, and it tends to distract you away from the game. So Oakland is in that spot, whereas San Francisco doesn't have to deal with the travel that Oakland does, and they're leaving home technically, but they're only going across the Bay. So San Francisco is just staying in the Bay Area. So it seems like a much better travel spot and rest spot, really, for me, for San Francisco, even though both teams did have yesterday off. So that amount of as far as the rest is concerned, as far as like, the bullpens didn't get used yesterday, it's the same on both sides. But Oakland's travel and scheduling spot is just bizarre in this game, but I can't quite do it. And it looks like the line has moved against San Francisco, down from -125 to -115. They're a road favorite, which tells you how little the odds makers think of Oakland, really. 62% of the tickets, but 68% of the cash on San Francisco. So they're a little bit public, but it does look like they have more of the cash on them. But then, like I said, it looks like the line has dropped on them a little bit. So the line movement has gone against that. So some conflicting indicators there. But it's not something I want to get involved in. I don't trust either starting pitcher. If I wanted to play San Francisco, you'd be playing on Hayden Birdsong, and he looked like he was good. He's a rookie, I believe, and he had a bunch of starts to start his rookie campaign, allowing like 3 or fewer earned runs. He wasn't allowing a lot of earned runs, but his other peripherals weren't really that good. And in his last couple starts, he's been awful, although I think it was against better offenses. Maybe, I can't remember, but I don't want to really play on a guy who I don't really trust, who's a rookie, who I don't think has really, really excellent stuff necessarily. I mean, I don't think he does. And he's started to struggle. I don't like that, even though he is facing a bad Oakland offense here who has not seen him before. So Birdsong would have a little bit of an edge in that regard. The fact that Oakland hasn't seen him before. Oakland has Osvaldo Bido pitching. His stats aren't very good either. I think his ERA is misleading. I think the rest of his stats indicate that he's a bit worse than what his ERA would lead you to believe. And he does have some history against San Francisco. It's very little, but I think it's like 6 or 7 at bats or something. San Francisco does have good offensive numbers off of him in that very small sample size. So I would lean to San Francisco for those reasons, but I just don't trust Birdsong enough there. And then I think San Diego looks like a mismatch, but you're having to lay a huge road price here. That's Dylan Cease against Kyle Freeland. San Diego's up from minus 190 to minus 194. They're public as well with 90% of the tickets, but 97% of the cash. So you could, I guess, think about playing San Diego run line there. I think it is a pitching mismatch. And San Diego, I believe, lost last night in the first game of the series. So they could be a little bit more focused here and a little bit angry. Cease has good numbers. I mean, he has really good numbers on the season. He's the way better pitcher. He has better numbers than Freeland, obviously. It's not even close. And he has good numbers against Colorado, holding them to somewhere around like a 200 average. Pitching in Colorado, I think he's only done it twice in his career, once this season, and he's been pretty good. The start this season was really good. I think across those two starts, he has like a 3 ERA or something, or maybe even lower than that in Coors Field. So the elevation doesn't really seem to get to him either. Kyle Freeland on the other side has horrific numbers. Really, they're just bad, and they're bad against San Diego too. They hit over 300 against them in a pretty large sample size. So that looks like a huge mismatch, but of course you're paying for it dearly. You're paying for it with your lives, man. No, so I do lean to San Diego there. And I lean to Atlanta with Chris Sale against Griffin Canning. Atlanta is going to be wanting to bounce back from that loss in that game that I mentioned yesterday, where they couldn't get it done behind Schwellenbach in a close, low-scoring game. Atlanta might be a little bit angry here, and they have the pitching edge in this one, but you're paying for it again with the lineup from minus 205 to minus 207. You're paying for Atlanta and for Chris Sale here. 89% of the tickets, 99% of the cash, it looks like, though. So both San Diego and Atlanta, they're public, and I think they do have the pitching mismatch here, but it does look like there is some professional agreement with the public in those, but it's just such a steep price. I don't want to do it. I don't think you're really getting much value there. But Chris Sale, I think he does have way better numbers against Anaheim than Canning has against Atlanta. And Sale, I think his numbers are actually this weird situation where I think Anaheim has like two guys who combine for 40 at-bats lifetime against Sale, like the old timers, and then all of the rest of Anaheim's hitters have never seen it before. So it's like most of their offense hasn't even actually seen Sale before. So that gives him a little bit of an advantage there. And then the two guys that have seen him are like, they hit like 250 or something off of Chris Sale. So that's a little bit weird to see. And the Griffin Canning on the other side, I believe he does not have good numbers against Atlanta. And I think it's not in a very huge sample size. Trying to remember off the top of my head because I'm not actually looking right now, but I'm not actually playing those games. The game I will actually play, this is going to be a short video for Saturday. For once, let's take the Cincinnati Reds, baby. That's what it's going to be. Kansas City at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's up from minus 120 to minus 123. You're having to lay some price in that ballpark. I don't know what the best you can do is right now on this. Minus 125 looks like it might be the best you can get on Cincinnati right now. It does look like we have market agreement on this one. 53% of the tickets look like they're on Kansas City, as Kansas City is the team with the better record. I think people just kind of perceive them as the better team as well. But Cincinnati has kind of come from out of nowhere, man. And all of a sudden, even though their record is bad and they're below 500, they're all of a sudden in second place in their division. I mean, I don't think they're really competitive. Like, I don't really expect anybody besides Milwaukee to make the playoffs out of this division, but who knows? It's not a very good division, but Cincinnati is in the fight now, man. So it's surprising, but they are there. You got 54% of the tickets on Kansas City here. Public prefers Kansas City for those reasons that I said, but 68% of the cash looks like it's on Cincinnati. So it looks like we have some professional and public disagreement in this game in the market. The line looks like it's moved in the direction of Cincinnati, where it looks like the cash is going against the tickets. Digging deeper into this game, I kind of like it. So you got Cincinnati. They lost last night badly, 7-1, which broke a win streak that they had. They swept the Cardinals to get up into second place in this division. Pretty big series, really a competitive series where they were able to flip the standings over St. Louis. So maybe they just were kind of in a letdown mode after that. But now that they just lost 7-1, I think they're going to turn it around and be focused again after that. And Cincinnati in that 7-1 loss only used 2 relief pitchers, and they're not particularly good pitchers. They used Cruz to finish the game, 2 innings there. After Nick Martinez didn't even pitch bad, Cruz just gave up more in the end there. It was a closer game before that. but they only used 2 pitchers, whereas Kansas City used 4 of their relief pitchers. And some of their better relievers, too, some of the guys with better ERAs. So I think Cincinnati's bullpen is in a little bit better shape here and more rested shape, at least, even though they might not have the better bullpen in general, really. But they used half as many relievers as Kansas City did yesterday. So I think we have a little bit of an edge there. And then we look at the starting pitching matchup. Michael Wacha is pitching. His numbers on the season don't look bad, even though he's getting up there in age. He's more of a control pitcher, which tends to work out better for guys that get older, get up there in age. 3.5 ERA, pretty good. 1.22 whip, pretty good. He allows a lot of low run totals, man. So that does worry me a little bit. The fact that he hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start going all the way back to May 4th in a start where he got really rocked by Texas. He's allowed 3 or fewer in a bunch of starts since then. His August looks good as he's gone 13 innings, allowing only 4 earned runs, but against Detroit and St. Louis, teams that don't hit necessarily that well. And he does only have an 8.6 strikeout walk ratio in those 2 games. So strikeout walk ratio doesn't look as good, even though it has been decent over the course of the year. But those recent starts, he was putting too many men on base and not really striking guys out. So there is that to be said about his strikeout walk ratio. Actually isn't that great on the season. 99 to 37, not a high strikeout rate at all, really. The walk rate is okay. 121 innings pitched and 111 hits allowed. So the hits allowed is pretty low. So he's not easily hittable, but he does walk guys, like I said. So there is that aspect of it. And then, of course, we have to look at Wacha against Cincinnati. These hitters, we have a decent sample size here, and Cincinnati has hit him pretty well. They're 18 for 57 off him with 6 doubles, no other extra base hits, 5 RBIs, 6-4 strikeout walk ratio, 316 average, and 782 OPS. So Wacha has not done particularly well against these Cincinnati hitters. I did look it up because Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati does tend to be a hitter's park where some pitchers can struggle there, and Wacha's numbers are actually good there. He was in this division for a long time on St. Louis, so he's pitched in this ballpark a lot. So he is used to that. So that's not a disadvantage to Wacha there. He's made like 8 starts in his career there, and his ERA in that park is actually like in the 2s. So his numbers are actually pretty good in this ballpark, but that goes over the course of a bunch of years. So the ballpark doesn't really affect him, but this Cincinnati lineup that they have right now has good numbers against Wacha. So this is where I'm looking for Cincinnati to bounce back. Wacha has these numbers that aren't very good against Cincinnati. So I'm looking in that direction. And then Nick Lodolo, I think, is the better and younger pitcher. Well, I know he's the younger pitcher, but I think he's the better pitcher over on the other side on Cincinnati. He's got a 3.99 ERA, so the public might think, well, these pitchers have similar ERAs and Wacha's a little bit better, so Wacha must be the better pitcher. I actually don't think so. I think Lodolo has the harder stuff. He has the better strikeout stuff. He's got a 1.14 whip, so he's putting fewer men on base on average than Wacha is as well. 111 to 32 strikeout walk ratio, so he has more strikeouts and fewer walks than Wacha does. Wacha in the same amount of innings almost, really. 108 innings pitched, so a little bit fewer innings pitched, really, for Lodolo. 108 in the third. He's only allowed 91 hits, so he hasn't allowed many hits either. And his track record this season looks pretty good, too. He's only allowed more than 4 earned runs one time in a weird, awful start against the Cubs a couple starts ago, but he kind of bounced back from that, and since then he's had 2 okay starts at Miami. Miami does suck, and then at Milwaukee, which is not an easy lineup to face, and he didn't have a great start, and that one only went 5 1/3. They pulled him on kind of a low pitch count, 79. He walked 3 guys, struck out 4, so that wasn't a great performance. In August, he's got a 3.97 ERA, but 11 to 6 strikeout walk ratio isn't that good either. It is better than Wacha's, though, and he's only allowed 5 hits over that span in 11 1/3. So both Lodolo and Wacha have not allowed many runs in their 2 starts in August so far, and they both walked too many, but Lodolo has the way better strikeout stuff. I think Lodolo has faced the tougher offenses out of the 2 just because he faced Milwaukee. Milwaukee and then Miami's awful, but that's better than, I think, facing Detroit and St. Louis, although maybe it's close because those are both maybe kind of more mediocre offenses, but whatever. I'm rambling here. I think Lodolo is the better way to look. And then you look at his numbers against Kansas City. Only 3 of Kansas City's hitters have ever seen him before. So we're going to have a lot of unfamiliarity here where much of Kansas City's lineup has never seen Lodolo before. I mean, like I always say, when you have this young pitcher who has good strikeout stuff like Lodolo, he could come in and fool these hitters, and they might be at a bit more of a disadvantage because they don't know what to expect from him, and they have to adjust and figure him out a couple times, facing him a couple of times before they figure him out. So that's an advantage to Lodolo. The 3 hitters who have seen him before on the Royals are only 2 for 9 off him lifetime with a double, 1 home run, 1 RBI, 5-3 strikeout walk ratio. Isn't that great? He's walked Renfroe 2 times, but whatever. My former Red Sox, Hunter Renfroe, not to be confused with Hunter Renfroe with a W instead of an E, who was an NFL wide receiver. Very strange that such a really uncommon name and 2 guys in different sports, professional sports, have the same name but off by 1 letter, whatever. Kansas City's offense, in just those 3 batters in that small 9 at-bat sample size, 222 batting average, but 1,083 OPS. So OPS is way high because of all the walks and that home run, but the batting average is low. Lodolo. I like Lodolo better in this one, so that's what I'm going to do. It's the one play. Cincinnati Reds minus 125 or whatever you can get on that one. And then we do have a huge slate of preseason football, which you would think it would be on a Sunday, but no, it's on a Saturday, and I'm not getting involved in any of this, but I just I scan the market and I just say, oh, there's like a big market discrepancy. So I can just list off the games real quick where I see a team with the ticket percentage on one side, but I see the cash percentage on the other side. So the teams that have the cash percentage, that's going against where the tickets are. So basically sort of indicative that the professionals are on this side versus the public being on the other side. Those cash discrepancies that I see in the market are on the Cincinnati Bengals, the Kansas City Chiefs, it looks like, Minnesota Vikings. What else we got? Arizona Cardinals, and that looks like maybe it. Rams is pretty close to being one, as they only have 51% of the tickets, but 75% of the cash, so way more than. Oh, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I guess. But these things have been shifting around all the time. So those teams, I'm not playing any of the NFL preseason, but those teams look like they do have cash discrepancies on them. So that is what I'll say about that. Cincinnati Reds, the only play in this weird Major League Baseball card that I don't love today. Have a good day, man. Peace.